You all learn the Arabic? Yeah? So who's stand up and read it? Halloween. The question on Halloween, can kids celebrate Halloween? Kids can do whatever they like. Kids are kids. Yeah. But should we encourage them to celebrate Halloween? No. That's a different matter. As an adult, for you to encourage them to do things like that, then that should not be encouraged. In school, whatever they do in school is perfectly fine. That's part of the schooling. But for you to insist that they do it, that's a different matter. For you to make a Halloween party in your house, and that should not take place. Sure, we had an answer on it somewhere. That was the fatwa that caused all the chaos, didn't it? The fireworks. It just came up. What is the ruling on celebrating Halloween? To carry out the traditions of the non-Muslims and participate in what is associated with these events will be classified as haram. This is for both Halloween and bonfire night. That was the same fatwa that caused all that chaos. But when I'm saying it here is in terms of adults. Okay? It's in terms of adults. For adults to celebrate Halloween or impose it upon the children, then it's completely haram. But if children in school and things like this get involved in it, then children are children. Yes, they're sinless.
Non-Muslim family that sort of have started to take this stuff into consideration because it's become more popular and they're looking after young children.
Yeah, then it's fine. Children are children, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yes, children are sinless. They can't sin. So they can do whatever they like. Tarbiyah is there, but that's you as a parent, isn't it? Yes. So you don't allow them to do it. But the question was, are children not to celebrate Halloween? So children themselves can do whatever they like. But should you be allowing them to celebrate Halloween, then that is something that you shouldn't be doing. Yes? It's haram for you to do that. Okay. That fatwa was a controversial fatwa regarding fireworks. What's that? It's on Essential Islam. Not the website, it's on Facebook. Yeah. You can search it on the thing, the Facebook search bar. You can just put in Essential Islam or whatever you're looking for.
I'm not on Facebook.
Okay.
I want
This.
follow Essential Islam.
I tell you the truth, I don't know how to use Twitter, that's why I don't use it much. Siri Naveed could help you on that one. Siri Naveed will stay at Halali for this festival. Stay at Halali this festive period. Right, shall we start? Otherwise we're going to get late. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We got on to Aqidah 8. Aqidah 8. Aqidah 8 is that the Quran itself for Quran being a book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a dalil in itself. Yes? And you rarely this happens. Because how could the Quran, when you claim that it's a book of Allah and then it proves itself to be a book of Allah? Yes? Generally that may be slightly unacceptable, but with the Quran, because it sets out a challenge. The Quran sets out a challenge. So itself the Quran is setting out a challenge, saying, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِ. That if you are in doubt from everything that has been revealed upon our special slave, then bring a surah, a chapter from its liking, from a liking of the surahs that have been revealed. For example, the shortest surah. وَدْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُمْ, and then bring your witnesses other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in kuntum sadiqeen, if you are truthful, i.e. bring all your idols as well. فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا, and so if you don't do this, وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He'll never do it. You'll never be able to do it. فَاتَّقُوا النَّارُ الَّتِي وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ, then fear the hellfire whose fuel is humans and stones. Stones here means idols. What have stones done? Stones haven't done anything, have they? Yes? So here means idols, as that they worshipped. أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ, this has been made for the disbelievers and prepared for the disbelievers. So here the Quran sets out a challenge, that this is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran, so bring something like it. Bring something like it. And the kuffar of Makkah tried their utmost best to bring something like Inna Atainaka al-Kawthar. Some even tried to bring something like Iza Ja'ana, the surah, Li'ila fi Quraysh, I believe it was. And they tried, but the eloquence of the Quran was unmatchable. Yes? The high level Arabic that the Quran adopted, and how the words complemented each other, was something that the kuffar of Makkah could not bring together. They brought the biggest poets to come together and try to write something like the Quran in terms of its eloquence. Even the poets would give up and say, we cannot match the eloquence of the Quran. This is slightly, you can't understand it if you don't know what eloquence is. Yes? If you don't know what eloquence is. So it's about time you studied eloquence as well. Remember, eloquence is that you speak with meaningful words. Sometimes maybe less words, but more meaning. Yes? Sometimes the word choice that you have is not just random, but where words complement each other. Where words complement each other. Sometimes the words and the letters that they carry. Yes? That you don't sometimes want to use a word where there is an easy letter and then it straight goes to a hard letter, where it becomes difficult to pronounce then. This all affects eloquence. So how is composed as well, the sentences. So we call this i'jaz. What do you call it? I'jaz of the Quran. Yes? The eloquence of the Quran. So in all, just to make you understand that the kuffar of Makkah could not come to an agreement between themselves that whatever the poets presented, they would still find faults in it. When it came to the Quran, they couldn't find any faults within. So they lost this challenge, didn't they? They had to lose it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا, and you'll never be able to do it. This challenge, you'll never be able to take it up, as in by winning. Yeah? Which proved that when the biggest poets, the biggest people who are the highest level of eloquence from humans, when they came together and they still couldn't reach the level of eloquence of the Quran, it showed that it couldn't be any work of a human being. Any work of a human being. So this is Aqidah number 8. That the Quran itself is proof that it is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've given you that in a nice and easy form. But the truth is, on this one little thing, books and books and books have been written. Yes? The ijaz of the Quran, yes, the ijaz of the Quran, the eloquence of the Quran, people have written 2-volume works, 4-volume works. I think the largest I've seen is about 8 volumes. Yes, works by ulama. So you can understand now how just the eloquence of the Quran, of how the words are composed together, of how much detail it carries, if somebody can write 8 volumes on it. Yes. So it's a very, very detailed subject in itself. You do find glimpses of it in like Ash-Shifa. You'll find a chapter dedicated to this as well. But again, they put in a nice, easy way for you. One of the eloquence of the Quran as well, for example, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will narrate stories in different places with different words. But yet, there's no difference in them. In the narrated story, different words will be used in different verses of the Quran. Yes, regarding Sayyidina Adam, for example, you'll see that the story is mentioned fair few times, but yet there's different wording to maybe the previous story that was mentioned, but relating the same story. But then if we did the same thing, if I changed a word, I told you a story, I'm giving a witness statement, and then the police officer takes the witness statement down, and then I relate the story again in court, and I change the wording in it. I add something in it. What will happen? Case will get dismissed, wouldn't it? Or I'll get tried for perverting the course of justice. Something like that will happen. But when it comes to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the same story with different words, but the meanings of those words are exactly the same. There's not a difference. It may be told, the story might be told through a different angle, but again, you won't find any differences between the story. So again, which shows that what? It's not man-made, i.e., that it's not made by a human being. You can relate the same story. You can go from here and say, in class, Ustaz have mentioned such and such thing. Mention it to one person, I guarantee you when you mention it to the second person, the same story, you'll make a difference. Yes? Happens when you're relating stories. The same event that you relate, the second time you mention it will be different from the first time. The third time you mention it will be different from the second time you mention it. Yes? The third time maybe you will be a bit more dramatic. Yes? Because you're used to telling the story. So you'll add extra words in it to make it fun. Yes? So you'll see, but there's changes in there, aren't there? But with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it does not change, which is a sign of the eloquence of the Quran, which is a sign that this could only be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's not in the strength of a human being to relate the same story with different words from a different angle, but nothing has changed. I.e., the story in itself is still intact. Okay? But he's mentioned it in a nice, easy way here. He mentions a masla in between, and that is that the previous books were only memorized by the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. But the miracle of the Quran is that every child of the Quran can memorize something of the Quran. Yes? And you'll see that. You will see that even in this day and age, whereas people will not be in the true form, that is, the true form of the Torah or the true form of the Bible in the actual language. What I mean by the true form, the actual language that it was revealed in, they won't be able to memorize it in that. But ours is such, the Quran is such that people who do not even have an understanding of the Quran but can recite the Quran, it's easy for them to memorize the Quran. And this is one of the miracles of the Quran. It's a miracle of the Quran. So he just mentions that in between. Aqidah number 9. The Quran has 7 recitations. 7 recitations. What do we mean by that? Anybody know? Styles. What do you mean by styles? Yes. He's got it. Okay. Styles can be different, but this is in terms of the wording of the Quran, in terms of how you recite them. Yes. Maliki Yawmiddin, Maliki Yawmiddin, without the alif. Yeah, they're the dialects. Okay. 7 ways of reciting the Quran, like in Surah Fatiha, you have Maliki. That's how we read it. Then there is Maliki. Maliki. Okay. So you might see that sometimes. Maliki, Maliki. Sometimes they recite Wadduha, don't they? Yeah. Who knows it? Eh? Wadduhay, Wallayli idha sajay. Yes. It goes like that. So that's another dialect as well. Alladhina yu'minuna, we have, don't we? Yes, right in the starting of the Quran. They say Alladhina yu'minuna, you without the Hamza. Yeah. And that's just a common thing as well within that recitation. Wherever the Hamza comes, it'll get dropped. So for example, if I will say mu'minina, they say mu'minina with the waw instead. Yeah. And like that you got changes. Yes. Kufu one ahad, kuf one ahad, kuf an ahad. Okay. Different styles like that. Iza ja, iza ji, I think it comes as, or it might be there might be a imala in there as well. Iza ja, I think they read it as. These are 7 dialects, and the 7 dialects are mutawatira. What are they? Mutawatira. Mutawatira means that they are mass narrated. They are mass narrated. But you might think that that change is there and somehow it affects the meaning of the Quran. It doesn't affect the meaning of the Quran. It does not affect the meaning of the Quran. I'll give you an example. In Urdu, we say awwal, don't we? Yes? We'll do that after namaz, inshallah. We was explaining Aqidah 9. If you look in your own languages, sometimes we change words around. Yes? If you know Patwari, then you realize. For example, either awwal turns into abal. Yes? But it still means first. And you have a whole array of words like that. In Karachi, especially in the Karachi Urdu, they change a lot of words around. Yeah? For example, Bahar turns to Behr. And that you have lots of words that get changed around, but the meaning doesn't change. The meaning does not change. Ahmad to Ahmad. The meaning does not change whatsoever. The Quran in these 7 dialects is no different. The way it's pronounced, the way it's read, the way it's recited might be different, but in terms of the overall meaning of the Quran, that verse, the overall meaning of that verse, that does not change. For example, mu'minina, mu'minina, in both recitation will translate as believers. Maliki and Maliki will still translate as master or king. Yes? So overall the same meaning, isn't it? Malik will be master, Malik will be king, but master and king are close in meaning, aren't they? So the overall meaning of the verse does not change. So whoever says it does change, it doesn't. He's wrong and he's completely wrong. And this brings about ease in the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The truth is, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Jibril came and he brought one dialect. Then he came again and he brought another dialect. And I told him to increase it again, he brought another one. Yes? Like that 7 times. Like that. 7 times. I told him to increase it again. At that point, Sayyidina Jibril stopped. Yes? But this was for the ease of the ummah. What it turns out to be is, if you recite the Quran and even if you recite it wrong, it's somewhere right. In other words, that's what it comes to. Okay. Yes. So if you forgot to stretch the alif in that, maliki, and you say maliki, still right, isn't it? Yes. You didn't see the hamza in mu'minina and you said mu'minina, because you see the waw, don't you? Yes. So you said mu'minina, is still right. Yes. And even the majhul method of reading, the majhul method. Yeah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Ala. Yeah. I don't know if I'm trying to imitate. Even for that is correct. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, because we have an example of the Quran. Within the Quran, a majhul way of reading. What's that? For example, Sayyidina Sulaiman's verse, I believe, is Bismillahi majreha wa mursaha. One of the ways of reading majhul, majre. It has a kasra underneath or a kari zair underneath it, but we don't read it like that, we say majreha. Majhul method, isn't it? Yes? How the oldies read. So it's not majriha, it's majreha. One of the examples in the Quran, that's how you recite that verse of the Quran. So if you have an example of it, so somebody reads like that, there's nothing wrong with it as well, so to speak. Obviously there is a better way of reciting the Quran. Yes, but depending on how the person recites it, or to its extent, he'll still be rewarded for reciting the Quran. So it's not completely wrong as well. You'll be surprised how the Arab speaks. Arabs don't speak alhamdu. Yes, it's do. Yeah, they change everything about. So it's not just an Ajami thing, it's also an Arab thing as well. Now here the thing is, depending on your area that you live in, you should stick to the common recitation. The common recitation. For example, we recite the Hafs Qiraat. Commonly what we recite is Imam Hafs's recitation. When we say his recitation, is narrated through him to us. Now, and that's through Asim, isn't it? So Hafs narrates it from Asim, and that's something that is common amongst us and in Pakistan and in India. So that's, and moreover around the world is kind of common. So you don't want to be standing on the musalla leading people in prayer, and then you say something like Maliki Yawmiddin. Yes? Or you're reading Wadduha and you say Wadduhai. Wal Layli Idha Sajay. Yes? You'll get beaten up. Okay? You'll get beaten up. Because people are not commonly used to it. Somebody will stand up and say he's reading the Quran wrong. So just to stay away from that, because it's not commonly known amongst people. That's why you stick to the recitation that is common. For example, I think in Morocco the Warsh recitation is very common. So if you know the Warsh recitation there, then recite that there. Okay. But this is what is, but stick to the recitation that you have. Aqidah number 10. Aqidah number 10 talks about abrogation. Yes? We call this nasakh, nasikh, mansukh. Nasakh, nasikh, mansukh. 3 words. Nasakh just means to abrogate. Nasikh is the abrogator, if that's the word. And mansukh is the abrogated. I'll explain that. So this is a concept within Islam as well regarding the Quran. So first things first is that the Quran abrogates everything before it. It cancels everything before it, as in what came in terms of books that came before, Bible, Torah. It cancels all of them. The rules that were mentioned in there, the laws that were mentioned in that, the Quran cancels all of them. But similarly, the Quran itself sometimes abrogates some of its own verses. Sometimes the Quran abrogates some of its own verses. So you have to understand the mansukh comes first and then the nasikh comes. Because mansukh is the one that's going to get abrogated, and nasikh is going to be the second verse that comes afterwards that will abrogate it. But what does this mean? This means, it doesn't mean that astaghfirullah, it cancels it out and that you can't recite the verse anymore. All it means was that the hukam of such and such verse had a time limit. What did it have? A time limit. And when the second verse came, that second verse showed the time limit. The second verse showed the time limit. Okay? I'll give you an example. At one time, to make a will was farz. What was it? Farz. It comes in the Quran. But then afterwards, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, make this will to the Sahaba Ikram, and then the Sahaba Ikram, they would make these wills. But then later on, the verses of inheritance were revealed. The verses of inheritance were revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now when the verses of inheritance are revealed that so and so will get such and such, yes, wife will get such and such, parents will get such and such. Now there's no need for a will, is there? Because the will was first to say that this is how much you're going to leave for your son, how much you're going to leave for the daughter. Yes? But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself then stipulated a portion for those people that you was meant to leave a will for. So do we have a need for a will anymore? We don't have a need for a will. So it shows that that will, which was an obligation upon the Sahaba Ikram, it was only up till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them what to do in regards to the inheritance as a command. When that command came, so you see the second set of verses abrogates the first set, i.e. the verses of inheritance abrogate the verses of making a will. Meaning it's not fard upon us to make a will now, is it? Yeah. Because we have the laws of inheritance. So that shows us nasikh, mansukh, and also lets us know the hukam. I.e. in terms of recitation we still recite those verses, but in terms of the hukam, meaning will was fard at one time, the hukam no longer stands amongst us. Aqidah number 11. We've done it, and that is that the meaning of nasakh is that a certain command had come for a specific time, for a certain time. That's all it was. That time is not really known to us. It's not really known to us or to the Sahaba Ikram until the second set of verses comes. To say that the verse no longer stands or the verse is flawed, yes, that we just put it to side, this is wrong. We don't do that. We do not do that. The verse in itself is still the truth. All it was, the command had a time limit upon it. If you look at the verses of jihad first, and then there are verses of, for example, the ending verse of Surah Al-Kafirun. How do they come? Lakum dinukum waliya deen. Yes. Verses like this are abrogated by the verses of jihad. Yes. You stay upon your religion, I'll stay upon my religion. Yes. Or what you worship, I don't worship, and what I worship, you don't worship. Problem with this is, where does jihad fit in all of this? Because the purpose of jihad is to raise the kalma in the hearts of people, isn't it? To make them accept Islam. One of the first reasons for a jihad. So where would that concept lie then? We have a mutawatir hadith rather. Umirtu an uqatil an-nasa hatta yaqulu la ilaha illallah. I've been commanded to wage war against people until they say la ilaha illallah. Where does that fit in the concept of your religion is yours and mine is mine? It doesn't fit, does it? So you find the whole of Surah Tawbah.
Was that the fatwa of Mardan?
Yes. Yes.
Wasn't that word? I think there was a Sheikh Hamza wrote about this as well. I think Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayah that the word qatiluna was actually wrong. He said, "Wallahu," I said something like you should enjoin to them rather than kill them. I don't know the technicalities of it. But
in regards to the verse of jihad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in various places used the word the mada qatala yuqatilu. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses that. So either you do it as in that you wage war against them, that you fight each other, yes, which is called jihad, or that is that you enjoin with them, yes. Regardless of what is jihad, and one of the purpose is to raise the slogan of La ilaha illallah into people, and that is either first of all by telling them to accept Islam, yes, and if they don't accept Islam, then you can wage war against them, yes. But I don't accept this concept of that Islam was somehow a defensive religion, that the jihad was a concept of Islam to defend itself, yes. Because we have many examples of where the Prophet ﷺ took over tribes, with jihad, when they were not one even a threat to the Prophet ﷺ, yes. But you have this duty of tabligh as well. So when we say jihad doesn't mean that you have to go in killing them, yes. It doesn't mean that there's a tribe there, we have to go straight, kill them all. No. Jihad means you've gone out on jihad, you're raising the slogan La ilaha illallah, yes, and you can peacefully enter. It wasn't Fateh Makkah jihad. Fateh Makkah was jihad, wasn't it? But did the Prophet raise his sword on that day? No, they didn't. The Prophet just walked into Makkah, but it's still classed as jihad, isn't it? The Sahaba Ikram are still classed as mujahideen, aren't they? Yes, in that. So there are always rules to jihad as well. So this is why we see as well that we don't have to be apologetic as well all the time and trying to do ta'wil of certain verses. If it says qital, then it is qital. If it says jihad, then it is jihad. And just leave it. You have a definition, you have a religious definition of that word as opposed to a literal definition. So present that religious definition of jihad. Yes. Now if you translate qital, means killing, Muslims don't go around killing. Was Sayyidina Umar going around killing people in his time? No. He had jihad, but he wasn't killing. So obviously you have a definition of qital, which is jihad. And what's that? That is that you present Islam first. Yes. If they don't accept Islam, then you take over. I.e. you don't have to take over with fighting, do you? Yeah? Once you've taken over, and then what you do is place jizya upon them. Yes? Place a tax upon them, and then live happily after that. Yes? So just about looking into these things. But anyway, what we were saying was that the verses of Surah Tawbah cancel out such verses like La ikraha fid din. There's no compulsion in Islam. Then you should just stay at home. No need for tabligh, is there? No compulsion. Why are you always trying to find 300 proofs that God exists? Imam Razi found 300 proofs that God exists. Yes? So what's the point? Just stay at home. There's no compulsion. Why do you need to tickle people's brains? You don't need to do that, then do you? So these are things to understand. These are verses which are abrogated. Abrogated. But remember one thing as well, they're abrogated in certain aspects as well. They don't have to be completely abrogated. We can still use La ikraha fid din in certain other aspects. Yes? But in its overwhelming hukam, it's abrogated in that. So do you understand what abrogation means? Yes? I can go into detail with it, but I think it'll be too heavy for you, because we sometimes have verses which abrogate one another. That's the one that we've done. Then you have verses whose recitation is abrogated, but the hukam stands. Yes? The hukam stands. For example, Rajam. Yes? the Quran doesn't mention in stoning to death if a person commits adultery. The command is stoning to death. Now, this was a verse of the Quran, or was part of the Quran, but the Prophet ﷺ had taken it out and said its recitation is abrogated. Yes? But its hukam still stands. Its hukam still stands. Hence why Sayyidina Umar said that towards the end of times, there'll be people who will say that Rajam wasn't in the Quran, or it's not in the Quran. Yes? And we're in that time right now. Minority FIqh people say it's not in the Quran, so we don't apply it. Okay? The actual answer to that is we can't apply it because we don't have an Islamic system. We can't apply Rajam. Why? Because we don't have a Islamic system. Any capital punishment in the absence of an Islamic government, Islamic caliphate cannot be carried out. Yes? A mufti, a qazi does not have the right. A qazi can only be appointed by the government anyway, but a mufti does not have a right to carry it out. Okay? So that's the appropriate answer. To say that it doesn't exist in the Quran, so none of these punishments can take place, that's the wrong answer. So you have some verses like that. Some are that the hukam is abrogated and the recitation is abrogated as well. The hukam is abrogated and the recitation is abrogated. So you have like things like this. But that does not affect the completeness of the Quran. That does not affect the completeness of the Quran. Remember that. Aqidah number 12. Some of the verses of the Quran are muhkam. What are they? Muhkam. And these are verses which are completely understood. They are completely understood, muhkam. Verses which are completely understood. When you open the Quran, whatever you understand is a muhkam verse. Yes? The command, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in that verse is completely open to us. The ulama understand it. But then there are mutashabih. What are they? Mutashabih. Mutashabih are unclear verses. Unclear verses. What this means is that the verse is not completely understood by us. Is not completely understood by us. Other than Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the true meaning of the verse is not known to anybody else. Other than Allah and His Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We don't ponder too much in mutashabih verses. I'll give you an example, but we don't ponder too much in them. The person who constantly goes and looks into mutashabih verses and like trying to find either faults in there or something in there, yes, there's something wrong with that person's heart. Yes? To leave all those verses which have a clear meaning to go towards a verse of the Quran which really is unclear to us. What is he trying to prove from that? Shows that something wrong with that person's heart. For example, look, alif lam mim. Alif lam mim. It's not a word in the Arabic language. Starting on the Quran, isn't it? Yes? Alif lam mim. Now here, who understands it? Do you understand it? Anyone? No? It doesn't. Meaning on the apparent for us it doesn't have a meaning. Yes? Ha mim, kaf, ha, ya, ain, sad. We call this hurufe muqatta'at. What do we call them? Hurufe muqatta'at. The meaning is cut off from the letters, but these letters' meaning is cut off from us. We don't understand them. People have tried. For example, some said alif here in alif lam mim means the name of Allah, lam means the name of Jibreel, and mim means Muhammad. Yes? And is the starting of the Quran. Allah sent the Quran with Jibreel to Sayyidina Muhammad. But who's to say that that's the actual meaning of it? It's made up, isn't it? Yes? Then there's like Sufi interpretation of, for example, Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. Yeah. I think it was Ala Hazrat who did Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad somewhere. It's a famous line of poetry as well. Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. What's that?
I think it's in Qasida Nur.
Yeah, Qasida Nur. So like for example, the Kaf, he says, is like the hair of the Prophet. Like the hair of the Prophet, i.e. that the Prophet's hair is described to be straight with a curve, straight with a wave in it. Okay? So he says that the Kaf looks slightly like that. Yeah? Ha, the Han. The Ha represents the teeth of the Prophet ﷺ. Yes? Because if you look at the Ha in the middle, it has a line, doesn't it? We call the Sanaya, and in the description of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet had a slight gap between his frontal two teeth, and the Ha represents that in writing that is okay. In writing the line in the middle. Ka, Ya. The Ya, without the dots, if you want to do it that way, is like the eyebrows of the Prophet, because they were perfectly arched, and the Ya is always perfectly arched, isn't it? At the bottom. If you write it like this, perfectly arched. Okay. So he says that the Ya represents the eyebrows of the Prophet. And the Ain and the Sad, Ain and the Sad, Ain and Sad. He says these represent, so when you write it like that, yes, these represent the eyes of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, because they do look like eyes, don't they? Yes? It's a Sufi interpretation. It doesn't mean that it's the actual meaning. It's just a lover's way of looking at things. Yes? So that's why he says that this Kaf, Ya, and Sad is a description of the face of the Prophet. Yes? Starting of Surah Nur, I think it is, isn't it? So yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But is that the actual meaning of it? No, it's not. It's not the actual meaning of this verse of the Quran. Only Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam know what it means. Another example of this could be verses that we don't really completely understand. For example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that He has a hand. Yes? Now in our Aqidah, you've learned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free of form. He can't have a form. So what does He mean by a hand here? It's unclear to us, isn't it? For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot occupy space, but then He says He comes over His throne. Yes? Ar-Rahman alal arsh istawa. Yes, the most merciful upon the arsh. He did istiwa, He came level if you do a literal translation. So what does that mean, that He became level upon His throne in the literal sense? Yeah, you could say it's metaphorically as well, but if you look at it just that confuses us, doesn't it? In His literal meaning. Now His literal meaning has confused us because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free of place and space. So what does it mean? And then we'll give other meanings to it. Yes? But in that sense it does confuse us slightly. So Him having a hand, Him saying that He has come over the arsh, these are slightly unclear to us. Yeah? So we leave them. What we do is we leave the actual meaning to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and accept it. Leave the actual meaning to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and say whatever it is according to Allah and His Messenger, that's what we believe in. No need to go into it and try to look into things. So do you understand that? Yeah. We do ta'wil as well. Tafweez, we call it ta'wil as well. Tafweez, ta'wil, taslim, they're all the same meanings. Okay. The Tafweed is just to leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ta'weel has to have tafweed in it. Remember that. A lot of people don't understand this. And this is why they make mistakes. Ta'weel has to have tafweed in it. You have to rest it, the actual meaning to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam before you do the ta'weel of it. You can't say that this meaning, i.e. istawa, has no meaning. Yes, except for the ta'weel. That's wrong. So you accept the whatever it is, do tafweed of it, and then later on you can do the ta'weel. Just in case the scholar comes along and proves you wrong, then you have somewhere to stand on, don't you? And that's Imam Nawawi's way, that's the way of our mutakallimin. Yes? So the first mazhab of the Sahaba Ikram was always tafweed. From the Sahaba Ikram was whatever it is, it is. Yes? Whatever the Prophet said regarding it, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said regarding it, that's what it is, that's what we believe. Then later on the ulama came and they did ta'weel with tafweed. Yes, ta'weel with tafweed, i.e. they leave the true meaning with Allah and His Messenger, but just for the sake of people, what do? They do ta'weel of it, for the sake of people. But who's to say that ta'weel is 100%? Okay. So that's the Aqidah number 13. The revelation of Nabuwwat, of prophethood, is only specific to a prophet. It's only specific to a prophet. And if a person believes for a non-prophet to have revelation, then he's out of the fold of Islam. Long time ago, I met a person, he came out of prison. And he was actually talking bonkers. He would say to me that he gets revelation. Yes? I would say, no, it might be inspiration. Okay? He would say, no, it's revelation. Yeah? But then he became so persistent on it, yeah, that there was nothing we could do for the person. To a point that he was actually saying that he gets wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That takes him out of the fold of Islam.
What
Yeah?
if he was insane?
What's that?
Like, mentally.
Yeah, that's different. Then we give him excuses. Yes, we give him excuses in Nasan. Remember this as well. Remember this. Yes, because it affects you in this country. If a person is insane and is proven to be insane, yes, mental illness, he can claim to be a prophet, he can claim to be God. Yes? You can't say anything to him. Even if he was in an Islamic country as well and he's proven to be insane, yes, you can't touch the person. Why? Because he's not mukallaf, is he? He's not burdened by Sharia. So you don't just get up and get a taxi and go kill him. Do you? Yes? And then say he's murtad as well. For example, there was a case in the UK, I speak about it openly because it doesn't bother me. Yes? But I know that certain ulama in certain circles don't talk about these things. But that is that the person who killed that guy in Glasgow, yes, he said he's a murtad. The guy's a Qadiani anyway. Yes? You have to understand there's a difference. When Mirza Qadiani, when he came out with the thing that he was God or he was Sayyidina Isa or he was a prophet, he said many things, he changed a lot. Yes? At one time he said he was pregnant. Yes? So he said a lot of things. So now he was a murtad. He was a murtad, and those Muslims that followed him, they became murtaddeen. Yes? But when they had children, their children were born non-Muslims. They're not murtad anymore. So you don't have the right to kill them, even in an Islamic country. Even within a Islamic and non-Muslim country is a totally different scenario. You don't have the right to kill anybody. Yes? But in a Muslim country, even the government, even the Khalifa himself doesn't have a right to kill them or order them to be killed. It'll be transgression, it'll be zulm, because they are born non-Muslims. Now this person who's living in the UK, who is a Qadiani, born Qadiani, he's a kafir. Yes? So he can say 1,000 things and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that he's become murtad. So in terms of Sharia, even though we're living in the UK, even if this person was in a Muslim country, he won't be killed for it. Secondly, on top of that, he was mentally insane. Yes? And there was a radio clip going of his, where he claims to be a prophet and things like this. The host himself is a Qadiani. A Qadiani is making fun of a Qadiani. He was making jokes out of him, because he was saying, you're pagal, you're insane, you're this, that, you're that. Yes? He was also acknowledging that these things were happening. So this person, according to the NHS, was insane anyway. According to his family, he was insane anyway. He wasn't in the right mind of things. So to kill such a person, the person who killed him is a murderer then, isn't he? Doesn't matter who praises him, regardless of which scholar praises him, wherever they praise him, the truth is that this person is a scholar. And I know this person personally as well. Okay? So it's not just a case of that I'm saying it from a distance. I know this person personally. Okay? He used to live in the local area. Yes. He used to pray namaz behind us as well. Yes. Know him personally. Sat in his house. He used to sit and stand with this person. He used to be a Amir of a Jamaat at one time. Yes. But he did what he did, but the Shari hukam is that he is a murderer, and we won't glorify him to be a mujahid or anything like that. Yes. So now whatever time he's serving, is serving, and in the light of Islam is a correct punishment for him. Yes. But that's the hukam of ours. Yes. So we don't accept the Ghazi Tanveers. Okay. According to me, myself, and my teachers, right, is that he is a murderer. And that's the way we accept it. So if an insane person says that he's a prophet, it doesn't mean anything, because you know he's insane. If an intellectual person says he's a prophet, yes, then you know that he has a reason to be saying why he's a prophet, and that is maybe he wants to rule over people. Yes, some kind of benefit, shaitan's work he's carrying out. Yes. But there'll be many people like that. Even in our masjid, there's always one person who comes. Yes, I won't mention his name, but sometimes he says he's Sayyidina Musa. Sometimes he says that he's Sayyidina Isa. Yes. Sometimes he's saying it's Khwaja Gharib Nawaz. Yes. But you know that he's mentally insane. Yeah, if he comes to the mosque, he can come to the mosque. The mosque is open for everyone. But he's mentally not there. He fell off a building, and because of that, he is unaware of certain things. So because of that, you know that his intellect is not there. He doesn't understand things, and he might just come to prayer and just stand in prayer and not even do sajda. And so the whole prayer will just be standing. So now do you say, when he claims in front of the whole mosque that he is a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you get up and just do whatever? It doesn't work like that, does it? Yeah, you'll be classed as a murderer. This is why sometimes you have to think of your actions before you do them. Sometimes you might think on the outer side that this is a great thing, people are going to call me a mujahid. Yeah? But then the truth is, on the day of judgment, it will all come out, and God will say, you only did it for the sake of people. Yes? One of the first people to be thrown into hell will be a man who everybody will know to be a shaheed. Yes? And God will bring him forth, and God will say, what did you do? I gave you strength. Yes? He said, I waged war so that your slogan could be raised high. And God will say, you lied. You're lying. Yes? And he won't know what's happened, and God will order the angels drag him to hell. And they won't drag him just by his hands. Yes? They'll throw him to the ground, and they'll carry him from his feet to a point that his chin will be dragging along the ground. And the hadith says there'll be sharp stones on the ground. Yes? As they're dragging him, they'll be cutting his face. Yes? They'll be cutting his face. But this is a man who everybody might have known as a shaheed. So it's sometimes something to think about.
So your intention is really important.
Yes.
That's why you do it.
Yes. The intention is really important.
One of the first hadiths that we teach you.
Yes. Innamal a'malu binniyat. So this is foremost, isn't it? Everything that comes to a prophet in a dream is also wahi. It's also revelation. I think these videos will need to be edited now. We don't want MI5 to come again, do we?
Let's just hope someone's not taking a recording of the live stream.
So they do sometimes visit, so don't worry. Inshallah. Had them for about an hour and a half in my house a long time ago. We leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that comes to a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is known as inspiration. Is known as inspiration. And we call that ilham. What do we call it? Ilham. Anything that comes to a wali, so for example, look, for a prophet is known as revelation, isn't it? Wahi. But what comes to a saint is called ilham, inspiration. Ilham. Ilham is inspiration. Okay. And many of the awliya ikram get inspiration. You'll probably get inspiration in your life as well at some point. Yes. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspires you. Yes. I want to be careful, but God speaks to you. Not in the literal sense of how He spoke to Sayyidina Musa, but through means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then speaks to you.
Is that like, for example, when you're dreaming?
This is not a dream. Yeah, this is not a dream. This is inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's hard to explain this, but
Could this be like a feeling in your heart or something?
yeah, it could be a feeling in your heart, yes, which is directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah.
Is it also thoughts as well?
It's thoughts as well, yes. That a thought comes into you and you know that it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The istikhara is done this way. The istikhara is a ilham really. When you do istikhara, it's got nothing to do with dreams. Yes. Many times you bring your dreams and they be confusing. Why? Because when you leave it to your dreams will take in consideration your circumstances as well. So sometimes you're worried about something. You do istikhara. The istikhara could be about marriage. Yes. But you've had an argument with your brother. Yes? And when you go to sleep, but because you've had an argument with your brother, and you've also done istikhara regarding marriage. Yes? Two different things, aren't they? It'll still affect your dream. This is what I'm saying, istikhara is not dependent upon dreams. Islamically, istikhara is not dependent upon dreams. Istikhara is that as soon as you done the dua, the first thought that comes inside your heart is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. As the first thought that comes in your heart is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Is ilham different to kashf?
Kashf is opening. Yes, kashf is in front of you. Yes. Ilham is different. Yes. Ilham is within. Ilham is within. Whereas kashf is an opening which you see. Yes, you're part of it as well. Yes. Like kashf could be that from here the veils lift and you enter into Medina Sharif with one step. That's kashf. Yes, the veils open. Kashf could be the veils open and you see all the angels in this room. Yes, that's kashf. Yes, whereas ilham is slightly different. It's a realm of tasawwuf. We'll do a tasawwuf lesson some other time. Or you can attend the Friday zikr to get a tasawwuf lesson, inshallah. So this is ilham. But shaitan can also put things inside you as well. Yes. And this really comes to soothsayers, magicians, yes, kuffar, fusaq people. Okay. And this can happen to them. And you get a lot of that. You get a lot of that, where the shaitan plays tricks with people. This is why, to be a saint, sainthood is not dependent upon these things. Sainthood is not dependent upon miracles. Sainthood is not dependent upon ilham. Yes? It's dependent upon your following of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? So that's that. We'll stop on that one. Any questions so far?
If someone does istikhara, like asking for God's counsel, but then doesn't follow through on what God decided for them, what would that be classed as?
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. It's not fard upon you to follow that. Yes? Because you have to understand that you have to make the decision. God doesn't make the decision for you. Overall, He makes the decision of everything, but in terms of that particular scenario, He's given you that choice, hasn't He? Yes? So you too, go for it.
So to interrupt you also, you're talking about verses which abrogate each other. Could science also abrogate?
No, I forgot to mention that. I was going to mention it, but I sidetracked myself. Only verses can abrogate verses. Yes? Since no longer verses can be revealed after the Prophet ﷺ, then nothing can abrogate the Quran. Meaning the verses that are still here now, the hukum still stands, those verses can't be abrogated. Even if science comes with whatever it comes with.
So even if
Yeah.
according to modern day science, it would seem like the
Yes.
opposite.
Modern day science is fact, not reality. Look up those two, okay? Yes? Yeah, it changes. Science is a fact, not reality. Okay? Look up the difference between those two words. I'll ask you next time. Inshallah.
Would it be the same for hadith as well? Or is it just the Quran?
The Quran, moreover the Quran, that can't be abrogated. With the hadith, you have to look into it. You have to look into that. But more or less, whatever there is, it is now in hadith sharif. 1400 years, it's a long time for ulama to work out what's abrogated and what's not within hadith. Okay. But yeah, you have to understand as well, hadith sharif, it complements the Quran. Okay? Meaning it returns back to the Quran. So you might find contradicting a hadith, they don't really matter to us because we can date them as well. Say that this hadith came first, this one came second, we always take the second hadith. The one that came later in the life of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So we won't find too much in that. So we'll stop there for this, inshallah.
Sheikh, just one more question. Just what you said about the thing about capital punishment, only a qazi is allowed to inflict somebody. But like in Pakistan and things, there's been certain situations where somebody's insulted the Prophet ﷺ and certain people have gone about their own way to kill that person. What would you classify that? Would that also be classified as murder? Or?
That's a good question. I don't know if I should do it on camera, but I released a fatwa on this. They got taken down. It is somewhere still on the internet. Yeah. You can't say the name, it doesn't bother me. But I would say, for that person to kill that person was wrong. He had no right. Yes? But the debate was on if that person who killed person A should have been tried for murder. Okay? That was something that was debatable. Yes? Because this person who was killed, he blasphemed against the Prophet ﷺ, and you had many scholars within Pakistan who had given the fatwa, and many even judges who said he blasphemed as well, who spoke against him out in public. Yes? But he could not be tried because he was a governor, and a governor is immune, isn't he? Yes? Until he steps down. Yes? So because he was the governor, he could not be taken to court, which means that the FIR that could not be written against him because he had that immunity. Hence why then whatever happened, it happened. So the actual debate isn't on if he was rightful to kill him. The truth is that he had no right to kill him. Yes? The debate was on if that person who then got trial, should he be tried for murder or should he be tried for something else. Yes? And the position of the ulama of Pakistan was that he should have been tried for something else, not for murder, not for qasas. Okay? That's the position of the ulama. Okay? In between there's a lot of people, a lot of Maulvis that you get into the debate and they don't know what they're talking about and they mix everything up. Okay? But that was the actual thing. But I would like to say one thing, since it's being recorded, is that don't get yourselves involved. While you live in this country, don't get yourself involved with things that are happening abroad. Yes? If you are people that are living in this country and have no connection to that country or have no intention of going back and living in that country, don't get yourselves involved with it. Don't even voice your opinion in regards to what's happening in those countries. Unless you know that your ulama have said, your proper ulama who are giving it full backing, once they have said it, then maybe voice your concerns. Yes? People might say, why did you voice your concerns about Syria? Why did you voice your concerns about Yemen, about Palestine? Because we know that our ulama are united on that. Yes? But in regards to Pakistan, they might be united under the carpet. Yes? But in terms of the vocals, they're not being united, are they, in Pakistan? So then in that sense, it's rather, since the ulama are staying silent, you stay silent as well. So you don't need to voice your concerns, because you'll only make life difficult for yourself within this country. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. So let's answer these questions. You're not obliged to get an Islamic will. Okay. Can we distribute wealth according to UK law? I don't understand what you mean by that, but you can buy a book by Sheikh Ahmed Thompson. Yes, and I think it's Aisha Bewley. Yes, they've written a book together regarding the Islamic inheritance. At the end of that, because Ahmed Thompson, I believe, is a barrister, he has put a template at the back of it, which you just have to fill in and hand it into your lawyer, solicitor, whoever they are. Yes, and then your wealth will be distributed according to Islamic Sharia. Yes, so however is according to Islamic Sharia, you can then distribute your wealth as well. Okay? And that's the way it should be done. And if you mean by according to UK law, then I'm not sure how the UK law distributes wealth. Does it go to tax? Okay, so i.e. still whatever it is, it won't be permissible to do it that way. Okay? But is it necessary for you to make a will? No, it's not necessary for you to make a will unless you have money under a matter somewhere that nobody knows about. Okay? Then it's necessary for you to make a will in regards to those things, so that your children then can benefit from them.
What about somebody forgets to make a will in their lifetime and the people after them don't do it according to Sharia?
No, the person, no, he doesn't have to make the will. Remember, we only told you that will pay just because of UK law. Yes? But if the family, the splitting of the inheritance is the duty of the family. Not the deceased, he's gone. What's he going to say? Yes, so it's not up to him, is it? It's up to the people that are still living. So if they don't distribute according to Islamic law, then they will be sinful, not him. Okay. Is it compulsory to recite Quran to your best ability with tajweed? Okay. To your best ability. My parents recite the Urdu way. Okay. If they recite that way, one scholar once said to me, they are still rewarded for it, because when you recite the Quran, it's down to intention. Yes? So however you recite it is good enough, but it's your best ability. Yes? Tajweed, one of the things of tajweed is that you recite Quran to your best ability. Yes? There are sets of rules, but best ability.
Does that also mean that you, for example, if you have avenues whereby you can look to improve your tajweed,
Yes, then you should.
exercise.
That should be
You
the.
can't just rely on the sense that,
Yes.
my tajweed may be poor, but I've got avenues where
Yes.
I can exercise that, but I'm not taking advantage of
No,
it.
you always try your best.
Will you be accountable for that?
Yes, you will, yeah. You will. But obviously, there's levels, aren't there? But if there's such a level that every letter just sounds the same, yeah, then that's not acceptable, is it? We're talking about in terms of language as well, where a person can differ between letters and vowels. Yes? So that is something, if there's a zamma, then you still read it as a zabar. It's fu'ila and you still read it as fa'ala. Then that's wrong, isn't it? That's a clear mistake. If they make differences like that, then those small like fu'ila, that can be looked over. It doesn't really matter in regards to that. What's that? Tajweed is necessary. Yes, but I said to you in what level? To a point where you can differ between letters. What you have a concept of tajweed now, yes, is not so to speak as necessary. Yes, it's on that level, basic level in terms of fiqh will be that you can differ between letters. When a person recites, you can make a difference between them. Does a person have to do ikhfa? Does a person have to do qalb? Does a person have to do gunna? Yes, these are things which are not necessary upon him. But you know tajweed now, because that's the way it's being taught. Yeah? The truth is tajweed starts a long ahead after that. Gunna, ikhfa, these are not even the basics of tajweed. Yes? Tajweed starts long after that. So sometimes when you read in books regarding tajweed, and the ulama say it's not compulsory to study tajweed, because they're not talking about a totally higher level of tajweed. Yes? Whereas what we're talking about is the ability. Yes? The ability to read in to the best of your strength. That is something that's necessary upon you to do. Okay? But those little mistakes can be overlooked, like not doing ikhfa, yeah? Not doing gunna. Those can be qalqala, those can be overlooked. What's that? Even in the salah. The Hanfi mazhab in regards to recitation in salah is probably the most lenient. Yeah? We pass it off. Yes? As long as there's not like a major mistake, yes? We pass it off. Like as in kufriya mistake. Yes? We pass it off, we let it go. Okay? It'll come later on inshallah in Nuridah. A lot of people use quotes from Imam Shafi and even Imam Abu Hanifa discouraging ilmul kalam. How do we understand those statements? Those statements are such that before, in the time of Imam Shafi, Imam Abu Hanifa, ilmul kalam, or philosophy as you want to call it, was something which was not ripe in their time. Yes? So they saw it as a thing for them to be, for people to be moving away from the Quran. When they stop reading the Quran, they'll start going into these things. And then there was also a thing as well that when it was translated, Greek philosophy was translated into the Arabic language, it came with the baggage of Greek belief as well. Yes? I.e. the amount of gods that they had. Yes? And so things. So it came with that baggage as well. So it was hard to differ between principles and then the belief as well. So it came with that baggage, hence why Imam Shafi, Imam Abu Hanifa or earlier scholars disliked ilmul kalam in that sense. But then later on, as this knowledge grew, ulama ikram started refuting philosophy in that sense. So you got books on philosophy itself where ulama refuted. Then, because it also came into Islamic belief and people started arguing on Islamic belief using logic, using principles of philosophy, Aristotle's 10 principles. They started using that. Then what happened was, the Muslims then separated Islamic theology and added logical proofs to it using philosophy. Yeah? So it became a separate science in itself. So now when you pick a book up of Ilmul Kalam, you won't find the heresies of the Greeks, will you? Because it's totally separate. So now it goes with the Quran. Yes? It complements the Quran. It forces the beliefs of the Quran, not just that with the verse of the Quran, but also with logical evidence as well. Yeah? So do you see why now it's permissible for us to study it, and in those times why they had a problem with it? Why? Because it's all just one bag, yes, which had Greek gods in it and Greek principles in it and everything, kufriyat in it, and that's how we came into the Arab world. Hence, any sane person would say this is not good for us.
Imam Ghazali was very fantastic piece on philosophy, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yeah.
Philosophy.
Yes.
I think that's quite a fundamental book.
It is book, yeah. But I would say stay away from philosophy for now. Okay? And then we do Bahari Sharif like this, is basic Aqidah, isn't it? And we don't really involve ourselves into those Greek principles. Yes, it is, yes. We study Mabzi and we study Sadra. There are 2 books we study within Falsafa. Yeah. Is that going back to school though? Yeah. Falsafa, you have to understand as well, when we say philosophy as well, it's not exactly philosophy. is natural science. Yes? Philosophy in this day and age is a particular science, and that which deals with God. When we study falsafa, if you were to translate as maybe as natural science. Yes? We also teach you how a rainbow is made. Yes? How it rains. Yes? How clouds are formed and things like this. That also comes in falsafa as well, which you call natural science. Okay? If an elder person has never learned how to recite the Quran, what should they do? Start learning to recite the Quran. Yes? Start to learn how to recite the Quran, even if it's by memory. When is the best time to perform istikhara? You can perform istikhara at any time, and when you have a confusion of what to do, that's the time to perform it. Yes? So don't have the confusion and then say, I'm going to do it at night time, because the confusion might be gone by that time. Your heart has settled at that time, hasn't it? So that's why you might get different feelings and different confusions. Yes, I mean your confusion can grow further by that time as well. So as soon as the confusion is born, do istikhara, you'll get your answer straight away, inshallah. Yes, that's that. We'll carry on with our fiqh. What chapter were we on? What's that? Do we do those things that break wuzu? Yeah? Those things that make ghusl fard? Have we done that? We've done that one. Okay. Bear with me on this one. Things that make ghusl fard. Ghusl is fard by one of 7 things. One of 7 things. For men, I'll say in a nice easy way, for a man to ejaculate with pleasure, that's it, with pleasure, that's the easiest way I'll say. Okay? There are a few madhabs in this, but I'm not going to go into too much of them because it'll confuse you. Okay? But for now, just ejaculation for a man or a woman is something that makes ghusl fard. But the condition here is it has to come with shahwa. That's that. Number 2, sexual intercourse makes ghusl fard. This will make ghusl fard on the man and the woman. This next in number 3 is kind of haram, but not kind of haram, it is haram, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. He writes, so look, you know this number 2 was sexual intercourse, wasn't it? Sexual intercourse with a human being, a living human being, just the sexual intercourse itself makes ghusl fard, regardless of if the man or the woman ejaculate or not. Okay? Just the sexual intercourse itself, the act itself makes ghusl fard. When it comes to animals, okay, or corpses, okay, ejaculation is a condition. Okay? Ejaculation is a condition. i.e., just the act of intercourse with an animal does not make ghusl fard. But rather, if a man ejaculates, that's when ghusl is made fard. I read a funny fatwa of a Saudi cleric once. Okay? And in that, there were 2 actually. And the first one was that a man had intercourse with a donkey, I think it was. Yes? And he gave the hukam that ghusl is fard upon the donkey. Okay. The second one was that a man did zina with a camel. That was the fatwa, that he did zina with a camel. And the camel has a few children already from before. I don't know what you call baby camels. And what the Mufti proved was that this camel was married to the he camel. You would call it a she camel and a he camel. So it was married to the camel, i.e. had children from that camel, didn't it? So then it had sexual, or if you could call it sexual intercourse, it had intercourse with this man. Yes? And it did it willingly. So this camel should be stoned to death. Okay? These are absurd fatwas. And they actually did it. I heard they actually did it as well in Saud. But you can see the level of their mentality. Yes? But anyway, these things are haram, aren't they? Yes? But you get weird people in weird places. Yes? So maybe somebody asked the author this question and he answered it. It's completely haram, isn't it? Yeah? I was watching TV once, a Pakistani channel, and it showed Iqrar al-Hassan, I think it was. He showed a guy who was opening graves, yes, and then raping the bodies within the grave. Yes. So throughout the day he would look and see who's being buried, and then in the night he would come and he would rape the deceased. I don't know if that's right to say, but he would do that. They caught him and then he got sentenced to life in prison. But what I'm trying to say is you have people like that. Yes, you still have people like that. This is for men. To find thin like water, raqiq water after sleeping. Okay. Then ghusl will be fard. Okay. But with this one you have to take care. Yes, there's a condition to it. If a person had an erection before he went to sleep, then he doesn't have to do ghusl. If he didn't have an erection, then he has to do ghusl. Okay? Opposite to what you may think. Okay? This is for women as well. To find moisture which you might think is semen. Semen is for men, but women might have water. He puts a condition that after intoxication or after a person has fainted, okay, ghusl will be farz. But if you look at it in terms of a wet dream, the Islamic concept of a wet dream is that it can take place for a man and a woman. Science differs though. Remember that. Science differs on that, but the Islamic concept is that men and women can have a wet dream. So if this is found, then what? Ghusl is fard. More specific to women now, but only specific to women. Hayz. Hayz is something that makes ghusl fard. So if you come into the state of hayz, your monthly cycle, then ghusl is fard. When is it fard? Anybody know? When it's finished, that's it. When hayz finishes, that's when it's fard. Okay? So it's not a case that hayz started and you start doing ghusl. Okay? Once it's finished, that's when it's fard. Same thing with nifas, postnatal bleeding. There'll be a whole a chapter on this. One chapter will fully come on it. So these are the things that make ghusl farz. Make ghusl farz. Any questions on that? No? We'll move on to those things which do not make ghusl farz. Okay? Do you got a question?
Were this supposed to be 7?
Yeah. Number 6 is hayz and number 7 is nifas.
Okay, so they're 2 separate.
Yeah, they're 2 separate, yeah. Those things that do not make ghusl farz, there are 10 things. 10 things. Those things really that make ghusl farz are kind of easy. Those things that don't make ghusl farz are a bit hard. What doesn't make ghusl farz is a thing called mazi. What is it? Thing called mazi. This happens in men and women. But don't confuse it with, what do you call it? Pre-ejaculation. Don't confuse it with that. Okay? Pre-ejaculation will make ghusl fard. Yeah? We can name this pre-seminal fluid. Okay? Pre-seminal fluid. The difference between them is that with pre-ejaculation is that futur comes after it, i.e. an erection no longer remains, and with pre-seminal fluid it remains. Okay, what we're talking about here is pre-seminal fluid. Pre-seminal fluid does not make ghusl fard. Does not make ghusl fard. And if it happens in women, then this is the same. Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhal kareem used to have this a lot. Okay, to a point that he was shy to ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the question. Yes. So he would send one Sahabi to ask the question, and he would come back, the Sahabi would say this is the answer, but his heart wouldn't settle. So he would send another Sahabi. So he would go ask the question, come back, same answer, but it wouldn't settle his heart, because he used to have it commonly. And the reason obviously he was shy to ask was because of the Prophet's daughter. Yes. So then he would send one person, second person, third person. I think the last person he sent was Sayyidina Abu Bakr, if I remember correctly. And then the Prophet said to Sayyidina Abu Bakr that why doesn't he just come himself? Yes? Because every person that came, oh, there's a brother who's asked this question. Yes? And it was constantly like that. Every Sahabi came and the Prophet said, why doesn't Ali just come himself and ask me the question? Yeah? Because the truth was that he had the question so many times, so the Prophet just let him come and he can ask. So, but Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhal kareem would have this as well. And it's not a so-called illness as well. It's not a so-called illness. Okay, maza mazi mein. That's for Umar. Wadi. Wadi is number 2. Wadi is number 2. Wadi you might class as an illness though. And it happens in women, but in women it's called qazi. If it happens in women, it's called qazi. But similar thing, and it's like an illness. It comes either before urinating or after urinating. Either before or after. But it's a pain. It's a pain. I.e., before urinating, a white substance may come out of the body, but for it to come out, it really irritates a person. Really hurts a person. Yes. So it's either sometimes before or sometimes after. So before urinating and come out, or after urinating it can come out. And it might just be a small drop of it. Yes. But because it is thick, it is thick. Yes. Because of the thickness, that's why the pain and the irritation appears, and it happens both in men and in women. I'll bet it won't happen in young people, it will happen in the older generation. The older you get, you might feel it. Okay? But this doesn't make ghusl fard. But remember one thing, both of these two things, mazi and wadi, what do? They don't make ghusl fard, but what else do they do? Break your wuzu at the least. They'll break your wuzu. Wuzu will be necessary upon you to do. Number 3 is for a person to remember a wet dream, but then not find any signs of it. So a person may remember that devilish dream, but then there are no signs of any fluids coming out of the body. This will not make ghusl fard. Your wuzu was broken by you sleeping. Okay. Number 4, like we mentioned in the back, to give birth and not see blood. Okay, that breaks wuzu, doesn't it? But it won't make ghusl, fard. I know he's mentioned 10 things, but I'm going to miss number, what number is it? Number 5. Okay, I'll miss that one out. Because it's based on a mazhab, and I'll have to explain all of the mazhabs for you to understand it. Okay. He says then it'll be 6, wouldn't it? Number 6 would be to enter a finger or anything like it in one of the 2 ways. This won't break or make ghusl fard. It won't make ghusl fard. He said that to enter a finger or anything like a finger into any one of the 2 ways. And then the next one is intercourse with an animal or a corpse without ejaculating, and we talked about that before. Okay, and the last one I will mention as well. The last one is a detailed masna, and I feel that it is from the mufradat of Imam Abul Hassan Shrumbulali. Yes, because there's more questions on it in a fiqh sense than from what it seems on the apparent. Okay, but it doesn't affect any of you here. Let's look at the fards of ghusl. How many fards of ghusl are there? How many? 3, yeah? 3 fards. He mentions 11. How did you restrict them to 3? Where's 3 and where's 11?
Sorry, just go back.
Yes.
Have we missed 3?
Yeah, we missed 2, I think. We missed 2.
5.
You got mazi, you got wadi, a devilish dream without any signs of it, giving birth without seeing blood. Then I missed one out. I missed one thing out as well. You're right. I missed hukna out. Okay, hukna, not hookah. Okay, hukna. You know, in the past they still do it in the NHS. You know, till this day. Yes, and if you're bloated, yes, they do it in animals, don't they? As well, the vets do it. If the animal is bloated, then they just put massive glove on and they just straight in. Yes, and they take all the blockage out. Okay, that's called hukna. For humans, it's called hukna. Yes? So in the past, the NHS still does it. Yeah, if you're really bloated and it's a real, like a proper illness in yourself, then they will not your hand, but they'll put tools inside your stomach to release everything in the stomach. If this happens, it won't make ghusl fard on you. It won't make ghusl fard on you. So we said, you lot said there was 3 fards of ghusl, and the author said there's 11. Who's right? Huh?
Both right.
The author said there's 11 fards of ghusl, and you said there's 3 fards of ghusl.
They're both right because
They're both right, yes.
about it.
Yes, they're both right. Why? Because after the 3rd one, anything that he mentions will come under the 3rd one. Yeah? It's just an extension of number 3. Okay. So the first fards is to wash the mouth. Wash the... Did we say gargling? Did I say gargling? No? He said wash the mouth, didn't he? So it's first for you to wash the mouth, not gargle. Okay? So you don't need to get a bit anxious when it's Ramadan and I need to gargle. Yes, you don't need to ask that question, because generally, even in ghusl itself, gargling is not farz. Just to rinse the mouth is farz. The nose, same thing with the nose. That's number 2. Number 3, the whole of the body once. To drench the whole of the body in water once. The rest of the 11 that he's mentioned are extension of this one. So if a person is not circumcised, like he says, then he needs to wash under the foreskin. If there's any holes in the body, then they need to be washed through. Earrings, yes, nose studs, yes, and anywhere else that a person might have piercings, haram or halal, whatever they are, yes, they need to be washed through. If a man has, what do you call them, plaits, when you tie your hair together? If a man has something like that, then he has to wash inside them, meaning he has to open them and wash inside them and make the water reach his skin. But for women, they get the day off. They can just leave their hair as long as water reaches their head. So they can leave the rest of their hair tied as long as the water reaches their head. If you got a beard, then washing with inside your beard. Mustache, yes, making sure. Eyebrows, yes, if you got some. Sometimes they just be pencils. Yeah. Colouring, yes. And within the private parts, as he is mentioned, yes, washing those. Let's go into the sunnahs. The sunnah of ghusl. There are 12 things which are sunnah in ghusl. Starting with Bismillah. Intention, number 2. Number 3, washing both hands up to the wrist. Separately, washing the impurity away from your body. So if there's impurities upon your body, then do that separately, i.e. by itself. Number 5 is it? I'll just class this as istinja, to do istinja. Number 6, to do wuzu, just as you do it for namaz. And to wash every limb thrice, within the wuzu that is. To wash everything thrice in the wuzu. To do masa of the head. So you can class that as one actually, because that's wuzu, isn't it? Yes. And if you want, you can delay your feet and wash them at the end of your ghusl. Yes. If the water stops in its place and it gets flooded, then you can wash your feet at the end. And if that doesn't happen, there's nothing wrong with washing your feet. But you can class all of this under wuzu. Number 7 is pouring water over the body 3 times. But you can class this as washing each limb 3 times. That's what it comes down to, doesn't it? Washing the body 3 times, i.e. washing each limb 3 times. Number 7 of the sunnahs. Am I going too fast?
No, I got confused. I thought it was wuzu and then.
Yeah, wuzu we say that washing thrice, doing masa of the head and washing your feet, but we said that it all comes under wuzu anyway.
Alright.
Yes? So that you can class that as one. Now number 7 you can do as pouring water over your body 3 times. But what this will mean is that you wash each limb 3 times. And by pouring water over your body 3 times, it's not just a case of 1, 2, 3, yeah, and that's it, you're done. That's not the case. And later on, like he'll say as well, that you pour water over your right shoulder 3 times, over your left shoulder 3 times. It's not a case of 1, 2, 3, that's it, sunnah done. It means to wash the whole of the right side once, 3 times. Yes, whole of the left side 3 times. Does that make sense? He just puts a little masla in between, and that is that if a person was to do a plunge or dive into a river, yes, meant swimming, or anything that's in the hukum of a river, flowing water, and then he remains within the water for a short while. Question is, has he completed all of his sunnahs? He answers, yes, he has. He's completed all of the sunnahs. Number 8, he says, is sunnah to start by pouring water over your head. Number 9, then to wash your right shoulder. Number 10, then the left shoulder. Number 11, he says that you also rub while washing. Rub while washing. And to do your ghusl continuously. Don't stop. Don't start talking. Don't answer a phone call. Okay? Nothing like that. No coffees within the ghusl khana. Okay? Don't take anything like that. Ghusl should be like a 10-minute job, eh? Yes? Not an hour job, is it? People sometimes say, I'm going to have a bath, as if they, departing off to another place. So it's not very strict, is it? Ghusl can take about what? 5-10 minutes sometimes. Yes, and we understand that from the hadith of Sayyidah Aisha, where Sayyidah Aisha had a bath with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, and she said to the Prophet, save some water for me, save some water for me. But it also shows that the ghusl was kind of quick. Yes, that the Prophet did ghusl kind of quick, because she was ready and waiting for the water. Okay. So this is the sunnahs of ghusl. I would have finished it, but we're running out of time. We'll do the rest of it next week, inshallah. Okay, and then we'll go into tayammum as well. Okay, so we'll do the etiquette of ghusl, and also the sunnahs of the places where it's sunnah to do ghusl, and then also we'll go into the chapter of tayammum. Who's learned the Arabic? Umar, do you know it? Do you read it? Fa'ala. Read it then. Fa'alna. We're just going to practice it for today. Subhanallah. Surah Maryam. Qaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. So you open it. If I give you a word, let's see if you can work it out. Where's my pen? Right, boys first. The sisters look a bit. If I say nazartu, Nazar tu. Open your book and you'll understand it. Keep that scale in the pattern that I gave you, keep that open. I'll answer that question. Does a woman's hair have to be plaited? It doesn't have to be plaited, but if it is, she doesn't have to open it. Okay? So if a lady's hair is plaited or is tied up, then she does not have to open it as long as water reaches her scalp. Okay? Nazartu. Yes? We're going to take the wazn out of this. Who can tell me the wazn from the boy side of nazartu? The whole word. Oh, not word, sorry, word. No, tell me the wazn. Not the real letters, tell me the wazn. Remember, wazn was we said daraba fa'ala. So it matched, didn't it? So look at your scale and see what you can match it with. Fa'altu. Fa'altu. So from the boy side, what's the fa kalima? What is fa opposite? Noon, isn't it? So this is known as the fa kalima. What's opposite the ain? Zal. Okay, is my writing. Zal. What's opposite the lam? Ra. Ra. Yes. So we understood that nazara or nazrun. Nazrun are the hurufe asli. What's extra? The tu, the ta. So this is known as hurufe zaida, extra letters. Now let's move towards this siga. What siga is it? Wahid mutakallim. So we said it's wahid mutakallim. What does wahid mean? One. Mutakallim, first person. Okay. What was the title of this pattern? Who knows the title of this pattern? Come on, it's on top of your page. Fi'l, Madi, Mutlaq, Musbat, Ma'ruf. That's the pattern, isn't it? So these are the for now, these questions we need to answer. There's going to be a word. There's going to be a word. A scale. What's a scale? Like we just taken out. Fa'altu. That's the scale. That's the wazn. Then the hurufi asli and zaida. You can take them as a package. You know, what are the fa and lam kalmais, and if there's any extra letters, what they are. And then also the title to this pattern. What is this pattern? Title. We will call that the gardan. What do we call it? Gardan. So these questions need to be answered. Yes? So what do they prove? Other than the scale, that's for us to find the pattern, isn't it? Yes. So nazartu baruzan fa'altu. Yes. Then we said that it is siga wahid mutakallim. Then we said it is fi'l mazi mutlaq musbat ma'ruf. Yes. Now we put all that together. Nazara means to warn. What does it mean? To warn. So nazartu is wahid mutakallim and is the past tense. What will it mean? I warned. So now we've got translation. We have a translation. I warned. So that's the whole point of doing it, really. Okay. I warned. Do this one for the sisters. Got the word? Ba'asta. Fa'alta. Oh, quick, they took their time. Yeah? Huruf asli. When we say huruf asli, we say fa, it means fa, ain, or lam. So what's the fa kalma? Ba. Next one. Ain. Sa, sorry. Yes? Ba'asta. Ba'sun. What's the extra letter? Ta. Okay. What siga is it? Wahid Muzakkar Hazir. Yes? So it's singular, it's masculine, and it's second person, isn't it? What Gardan title is it? What's the title? Fail Mazi Mutlaq Musbat Maruf. I'm telling you now, make sure you say the whole title's name because there's going to be so many, you're going to get confused. Yeah, so when you say Fail Mazi, there's going to be Fail Mazi Kareem, there's going to be Fail Mazi Ba'id, there's going to be Fail Mazi Istimrari, Fail Mazi Ihtimali, Fail Mazi Tamannai. There's quite a few of them. Yes? So if you just say Fail Mazi, then you get confused. So this one's Fail Mazi Mutlaq Musbat Ma'ruf. Fail Mazi Mutlaq Musbat Ma'ruf. So it's past tense, it has to be positive, and the person who did the action we know as well. Yes? So that's the title, and we also have to consider that it's singular, masculine, and second person. So how would it translate? Ba'asa or ba'sun means to send. You sent. You as in you male. Okay? You male sent. Okay? So see, it makes life easy, doesn't it?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la
What were we on? Do we translate? Yeah. You sent, as in you male sent. So that's how we work it out. That's all surface. That's it. That's surf. You graduated now. Okay. Well, there's a lot more to it. This is the first stage of it, but this is what you need to get used to now. This is what you need to get used to. So the title and also the pattern. Yes, try to have it in your head and try to figure out what's what. That pattern, what we told you, wahid muzakkar ghaib, tasniya muzakkar ghaib, till the end of your sarf is going to stay the same. So if you learn it once, you'll practice it throughout the whole of your sarf. You got homework, and the homework is you got those examples on the next page, on page 42. The first few is saying that you find the siga for them. So find the siga for them. The number 3, the question number 3, I'll give you the words translation. Okay, but you can then translate yourself. For example, aklun. It means to eat. Okay, so you'll have to see what siga it is and how to translate it. Sami'tunna comes from sama. What does sama mean? To hear. Yes. Sa'altuma comes from su'al actually. What does su'al mean? Question, yeah? To question. What's the last? Nasarna comes from nasrun, which means what? Anybody know? To? No. Help, yes, somebody said help. Ansar, Sahaba, the Ansar, helpers, to help. Fatahtu comes from fatah. What does it mean? To open. Okay. So using that you can translate those words then, can't you? Yeah? I'm going to move you on. We're going to still practice these next week, inshallah. But I'm going to move you on to the next pattern as well, so it makes it a bit fun. We're not just stuck with one pattern. Yes? The next pattern is called Fi'l Mazi Mutlaq Musbat Majhool. Fi'l Mazi Mutlaq Musbat Majhool. It's in the book, so I won't write it on the board. Fi'l Mazi Mutlaq Musbat Majhool. Let's look at that. It's Fi'l. It's mazi, so it's the past tense. It is still mutlaq, as in open past. It's positive, but this time it's majhool. Why is it? As opposed to ma'roof. The first gardan that you learned was ma'roof. This one is majhool. So we have to translate in a majhool way where you do not know the person who did the action. Yes? But let's look at how we first make fi'l mazi mutlaq musbat majhool. We take fi'l mazi mutlaq musbat ma'roof. What was fi'l mazi mutlaq musbat ma'roof first siga? Fa'ala, wasn't it? We take that fa'ala, the fa and lam, and we give, and remember this, when we make majhool in mazi, this will be the method from now on till the end. So note this method down. And that is that we give the first letter a zamma. What do we do? The fa kalma, we give it a zamma, a pesh. So you put a pesh on it. So from fa'ala it goes to fu. Then the ain kalma, we give it a kasra. What do we do? Give it a kasra. And if the lam kalma doesn't have a fatha, then give it a fatha. Yes, and in this case it already has a fatha in fa'ala. That's majhool now. That is. But remember that method. Fa kalma gets a zamma, ain kalma gets a kasra. Fa kalma gets a pesh, ain kalma gets a zair. And the lam kalma, if it's got a zabar on it, then leave the zabar. If it doesn't, then give it a zabar. That makes sense? So then we made fu'i, la. Now we can read the gardan. You know the endings are the same. The endings are the same, which are the signs of the siga. Fu'ila, fu'ila, fu'ilu, fu'ilat, fu'ilata, fu'ilna, fu'ilta, fu'iltuma, fu'iltum, fu'ilti, fu'iltuma, fu'iltunna, fu'iltu, fu'ilna. Yes? Where we don't know the person who did the action, for example in fa'ala, we said it is he did. What does that translate as? He did. Fu'ila will translate as he got done. He got done. I.e. who did him over, we don't know. Okay? We don't know that. Yes? So the person who did the action, the subject, we do not know. We know the object, that's him. But the subject, the one who did the action, we don't know who did the action. Like duriba, he got hit. Who hit him from this sentence, we don't know. Yes? So that is fi'l mazi mutlaq musbat majhul. If you turn the page over onto page 44, you'll see that the pattern's there. And you'll see everything else other than the translation is exactly the same. Yes? Wahid muzakkar ghaib, tasniya muzakkar ghaib, jamma muzakkar ghaib, all the way down. That pattern, the siga is all the same, isn't it? But the gardan's title has changed and the translation has changed. So this is what you have to remember now. So sometimes I might give you patterns which will be on fi'l mazi mutlaq musbat ma'roof, some will be on fi'l mazi mutlaq musbat majhul. Yes? So for example, if you got akala, how would the majhul be? From akala. If that was akala, what would the majhul be? Ukila. If you got sami'a, that comes as sami'a by the way. Sami'a is the mazi. Okay, what would the majhul be? Sumi'a. If you got sa'ala, su'ila. If you got nasara, nusira. If you got fataha, futiha. And then you can read the gardans like that as well, practice them as well. So like when you start off with fataha, yeah, read it. Fataha, fataha, fatahu, fatahat, fatahata, fatahna, fatahta, fatahtuma, fatahtum, fatahti, fatahtuma, fatahtunna, fatahtu, fatahna. Then do futiha, 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 futihu, and all the way down. Okay? Practice it. Yes, and you get the Arabic on your tongue as well. It actually helps you to recite the Quran better as well. Where you recognize the words quicker than they already, as you usually would do. Yes? When I used to recite, you used to just sit in the back somewhere in the corner and had to do like half an hour, maybe an hour of just gardans. Okay? So do practice, and that was on a daily basis. Okay? On a daily basis, and then go home and practice more. Yes? Get the Quran, open the Quran. These words we're taking out the Quran, by the way. Yes? And you can open the Quran and start recognizing the words. As you do more patterns, the more words you'll recognize within the Quran as well, and you know the sigas as well. Yes? And then the more you get yourself involved into Arabic, in terms of Arabic language, you'll start to recognize the meanings as well, inshallah. Okay? So this is homework, these two patterns, learn them, inshallah. Learn how to make them as well. So, for example, you got fa'ala, find another word, take another word like daraba, and try to make fu'ila from it. So then turn it into duriba. Okay? And go through it like that, inshallah. Any questions on this? Inshallah. I'm guessing we'll know it next week then. Yes? So next week we'll one by one make you stand up and do it, inshallah. Inshallah. We'll stop there, inshallah.